Hello, welcome to the Sleepy Bible Odyssey channel. We have come through the bread of life, the great I Am spoken straight into our hunger, the deeper hunger beneath all other hungers. We've walked with the light of the world, the I Am that opens blind eyes and lets us whisper, I was blind, but now I see. Tonight we come to the third statement, the one that feels like a quiet embrace, the one that needs the most tenderness before its full meaning unfolds in our hearts. I am the gate. For most of us, a gate sounds like something that locks and bars, something cold and hard at the edge of a property. But the gate Jesus speaks of is not a barrier. It is the opening of a sheepfold. In the hills of first-century Palestine, the sheepfold was a simple stone enclosure beneath the open sky, built to shelter the sheep through the long, dark nights. There was only one way in and one way out. And when the sheep were gathered and settled, the shepherd would lie down across that single opening. His own body became the gate. Nothing could enter to harm them, and nothing could wander out and be lost without passing over him. He was protection and welcome at the same time. The sheep slept in the warmth of his nearness. They listened for the soft rhythm of his breathing and knew they were safe. To be inside the fold was to be held within the space defined by the shepherd's very body, enclosed, known, and deeply loved. I am the gate. Jesus is whispering to you tonight. I am the opening into the life that is truly safe. I am the place where genuine access and genuine protection meet. Whoever enters through me will be saved. The word is sozo, which means rescued, healed, and made whole all at once. Whoever enters through me will be saved and will come in and go out and find pasture. Come in and go out and find pasture. This is the full life, beloved. The beautiful rhythm of a heart that is secure enough to rest and free enough to run. The coming in, returning to the warmth of the fold, and the going out, into open fields of nourishment, wonder, and wide, spacious living. And then Jesus speaks the words that rest at the very center of his heart. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. Life to the full. Not just life that barely survives, not just life that avoids destruction, but rich, overflowing, fully alive life, the kind the gate opens wide to let you receive. The gate, the one who is your opening, your protection, your safety, and the promise of abundance waiting on the other side. Therefore Jesus said again, Very truly I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. All who have come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep have not listened to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. They will come in and go out and find pasture. John 10:7-9. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. John 10:10. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. John 10:11. I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me. John 10:14. The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. Psalm 23:1-3. I am the gate. The statement is made twice in rapid succession in John 10, verse 7 and verse 9, with slightly different emphasis each time. In verse 7, Jesus says, "I am the gate for the sheep," setting the contrast with the thieves and robbers who came before. In verse 9, Jesus says, "I am the gate," and then specifies what the gate makes possible. "Whoever enters through me will be saved, and will come in and go out and find pasture." The repetition is deliberate. John's Gospel does not repeat accidentally. The double statement of the gate image is the emphasis. The gate is the thing Jesus wants the listener to understand before the discourse moves to the shepherd. The gate is the precondition of everything else. The safety of the fold, the pasture outside it, the coming in and going out freely, none of it is available without the gate. The gate is the access point. The gate is the protection. The gate is the thing through which the abundant life becomes available. The ancient sheepfold gate was the shepherd himself. This is the detail that changes the whole image. The gate was not a door of wood or iron that opened and closed. It was a person. The shepherd lying across the opening was the gate, the living, warm, completely present gate that nothing could pass without his awareness and his response. The sheep slept in the safety of the enclosure that his body defined. The wolves and the thieves faced not a mechanism, but a person. I am the gate, the personal gate, the living gate, the gate that is not a mechanism, but the presence of the one who has chosen to be the point of access and the point of protection simultaneously, who has placed himself between the sheep and everything that would steal or kill or destroy. The contrast is explicit. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. The thief does not come through the gate. The thief climbs over the wall. This is how Jesus introduces the sheepfold image. Anyone who does not enter the sheepfold by the gate, but climbs in some other way, is a thief and a robber. The legitimate access is through the gate. The illegitimate access bypasses the gate, and the bypass always brings the stealing and the killing and the destroying, because the bypass is the avoidance of the shepherd, the circumventing of the protection, the entering of the fold without the knowledge of the one whose body defines its boundary. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. The gate is not only protection from what destroys, it is the opening onto the life that is full. The sheepfold is safety, the pasture is abundance, and the sheep who come in through the gate and go out through the gate are the sheep who have both, the safety of the fold and the freedom of the pasture, the rest of the enclosure and the nourishment of the open space. The gate makes both available. The gate is the condition of the full life. There is a specific human condition that the gate image addresses. It is the condition of the person who has been trying to enter by the wrong opening, the bypass, the climbing over the wall, the specific, exhausting, completely unfruitful attempt to access the life that is wanted, the safety, the belonging, the flourishing, the full life, through the entrances that are not the gate, the entrance of the achievement that will finally produce the security, the entrance of the relationship that will finally produce the belonging, the entrance of the accumulation that will finally produce the safety, the entrance of the performance that will finally produce the acceptance, These entrances are the wall climbing. They are not the gate. The gate is the person. The gate is the specific, living, completely present access point that is the shepherd who laid himself across the opening. And the person who has been climbing the wall, who has been seeking the safety and the belonging and the flourishing through the bypasses, is the person who arrives repeatedly at the fold without having entered through the gate, who has the appearance of the inside but the experience of the outside, who is in the enclosure but not in the presence of the shepherd, who is the enclosure's ground. The thief's entrance and the shepherd's gate produce different experiences. The thief enters to take. The legitimate entry is through the one who gives. The bypass brings the stealing and the destroying, not necessarily in the dramatic forms, but in the specific, quiet, completely real forms of the life organized around the wrong access. The achievement that does not produce the security it promised. The relationship that does not produce the belonging it seemed to offer. The accumulation that does not produce the safety that was its justification. The performances that do not produce the acceptance they were designed to earn. The wall has been climbed, the fold has been entered, the shepherd is not there, and the sheep is in the enclosure but alone in it. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. The saved, the sozo, is the wholeness, the healing, the making complete of the person who has entered through the gate, that is the person of Jesus. And the entering through that gate is not the bypassing, it is the coming directly, the coming without the achievement prerequisite, without the performance requirement, without the credentials that the wall climbing seems to require. The gate is open, the shepherd is across the opening, and the entry is simply the coming through. The shepherd image in the Hebrew Scriptures is one of the most persistent and most theologically loaded images in the entire tradition. It begins with the patriarchs. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were shepherds. Moses was tending the flock of his father-in-law Jethro when the burning bush appeared. David was called from keeping the sheep to be anointed king of Israel. The shepherd was not a romantic figure in the ancient Near East. It was honest, demanding, unglamorous work. The shepherd's life was organized around the flock. The shepherd moved where the flock needed to move. The shepherd's body was the last line of defense between the sheep and the wolves. And the Psalms take this completely ordinary occupation and apply it to Yahweh. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. Psalm 23 is the most beloved and the most memorized passage in the Hebrew Scriptures. It works because the shepherd image is so precise. The lying down in green pastures, the leading beside quiet waters, the restoration of the soul, the walking through the valley of the shadow of death, with the rod and the staff as comfort. This is what the shepherd actually does. The psalm is not romanticizing the occupation. It is saying, this is exactly what Yahweh does for the person who belongs to him. The provision, the guidance, the presence in the dangerous places, the table prepared in the presence of enemies. And then the tradition takes a darker turn. Ezekiel 34 is the prophetic passage that stands behind John 10. The background that the first century listener would have heard immediately when Jesus began talking about shepherds and sheep. Ezekiel's word from Yahweh is a devastating indictment of the religious leaders of Israel, the shepherds of Israel who have been feeding themselves rather than the flock. You eat the curds, clothe yourselves with the wool, and slaughter the choice animals, but you do not take care of the flock. You have not strengthened the weak, or healed the sick, or bound up the injured. You have ruled them harshly and brutally. The false shepherds, the people who occupied the shepherd's position and used it to consume the sheep rather than to care for them, who climbed into the sheepfold, in Jesus' later language, by routes other than the gate, who entered the position of authority over the flock through the bypass, the manipulation, the self-interest dressed as service. And Yahweh makes a promise in Ezekiel 34. I myself will search for my sheep and look after them. As a shepherd looks after his scattered flock when he is with them, so will I look after my sheep. I will rescue them. I will bring them out. I will pasture them. I will tend them. I will search for the lost and bring back the strays. I will bind up the injured and strengthen the weak. I myself will shepherd my flock. Jesus stands in the temple courts, surrounded by the religious leaders who are the contemporary version of Ezekiel's false shepherds, and says, I am the gate. I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep. I lay down my life for the sheep. The Ezekiel promise is being fulfilled in the person standing before them. The shepherd who comes through the gate, who is the gate, is the Yahweh who promised to search for the scattered sheep and bring them back and tend them and bind the injured and strengthen the weak. The gate is open. The shepherd is here. Let me take you inside the sheepfold. Very truly I tell you, Jesus begins, the solemn formula of the important teaching. Anyone who does not enter the sheepfold by the gate, but climbs in by some other way, is a thief and a robber. The image would have been immediately legible to the first-century listener. The sheepfold at night, the single entrance, the legitimate shepherd who enters by the gate, and the illegitimate intruder who climbs in another way. The distinction between them is not their appearance or their stated intentions. It is their point of entry. The gate is the legitimate access. Everything else is the bypass. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. He calls his own sheep by name. This detail is the tenderness at the center of the whole discourse. Not by category, not the white one, not the lame one, not the one with the torn ear. By name. Each sheep has a name. The shepherd knows the names, and the voice that calls the name is the voice the sheep recognize, the specific, particular, completely unmistakable voice of the shepherd who has been present with the flock long enough that his voice is the sound of safety. When he has brought out all his own, he goes on ahead of them, and his sheep follow him because they know his voice. But they will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice. The stranger's voice produces the running away. The shepherd's voice produces the following. The sheep cannot see the wolf clearly in the dark. The sheep cannot read the gatekeeper's credentials. The sheep cannot assess the legitimacy of the entry from the inside of the fold. But the sheep can hear. The voice is the knowledge. The voice is the recognition. The voice is the thing that distinguishes the legitimate shepherd, whose voice has been learned across the days and nights of the genuine relationship, from the stranger whose voice is unknown and therefore unsafe. Jesus told them this figure of speech, but they did not understand what he was telling them. So he said it again. Very truly I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. And then the contrast. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. The purposes are the measure of the identity. The thief's purpose is taking. The shepherd's purpose is giving. The thief's outcome is the stealing, the killing, the destroying of the flock. The shepherd's outcome is the life, the full life, the abundant life, the complete and overflowing life that the gate makes available to the sheep who enter through it. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The contrast deepens with the hired hand. The hired hand is not the thief. He has legitimate employment. He is present in the fold in an authorized capacity. But the hired hand is not the shepherd. He does not own the sheep. They are not his own. And when the wolf comes, he abandons them and runs. The hired hand cares about the sheep up to the point where caring costs him something he is not willing to pay. And the wolf scatters the flock. I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me, just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. The knowing is mutual. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me. The knowing is not the shepherd's unilateral awareness of the flock. It is the reciprocal, relational, completely personal knowing of the shepherd and the sheep who have lived together long enough that the knowing runs both directions. The shepherd knows every sheep. Every sheep knows the shepherd. The knowledge is the relationship. The relationship is the safety. And the laying down of the life, the gate who becomes the sacrifice, is the ultimate expression of the knowledge that goes in both directions. I have other sheep that are not of this sheep pen. I must bring them also. They too will listen to my voice, and there shall be one flock and one shepherd, the other sheep. The gate is not exclusive to the flock that is currently in the fold. The shepherd has sheep beyond the enclosure, sheep who have not yet heard the voice, who have not yet come through the gate, who are in the other pastures and the other situations of the world. And the shepherd is going to them too. The voice that calls by name is going to call names that are not yet in the fold, including yours. Whoever enters through me will be saved. The saved, sozo in the Greek, is the word that carries the weight of healing, wholeness, and rescue simultaneously. To be saved in the New Testament sense is not only the rescue from the destroying, it is the receiving of the whole life, the complete life, the fully alive life that the gate makes available. The sozo is the condition of the person who has entered through the gate and who is in the fold and in the pasture, in the safety and in the abundance. They will come in and go out and find pasture. This sentence deserves more attention than it usually receives. Coming in and going out is the movement of the fully alive sheep, the sheep that is neither trapped in the fold nor lost in the pasture. the sheep that enters the safety of the enclosure when the safety is needed and moves out into the pasture when the nourishment requires the movement. Both directions are available. Both directions are good. The gate does not lock the sheep inside permanently. It makes the inside safe and the outside accessible. The full life is the life that can do both. This is the abundant life, not the safe life only, the life that stays in the fold, because the fold is the safest place and the world outside is dangerous. The sheep that never leaves the fold is the sheep that starves in safety. The pasture is the nourishment. The going out is the receiving of the abundance that the fold cannot provide. And the gate makes the going out safe because the gate makes the coming back impossible. The sheep can venture because it can return. The sheep can move because the fold is not locked. The full life requires both, the safety of the fold and the freedom of the pasture, the coming into the rest and the going out to the nourishment, the protection and the abundance. And the gate is the condition of both, the opening that makes the safe return always possible, the presence of the shepherd that makes the venture always protected. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full, not the diminished life, not the careful life that avoids the pasture because the pasture is where the wolves are, the full life, the life that has the fold and the pasture, the safety and the abundance, the rest and the movement, the protection and the freedom. The gate is open. The shepherd is across the opening. The sheep who enters through him will find the fold safe and the pasture available. Come in and find pasture. The psychological research on belonging, safety, and flourishing confirms what the gate image has always offered, and adds a precision that makes the practical path more concrete. The first concept is the psychology of secure attachment and the safe base. The developmental psychologist John Bowlby's attachment theory, developed across decades and substantially confirmed by subsequent research, identified the secure attachment relationship as the foundational condition for healthy human development and flourishing. The securely attached child, the child who has a reliable, responsive, consistently available attachment figure, develops the specific capacity that Bowlby called the secure base. The secure base is the relational ground from which the child ventures out to explore, knowing that the return to safety is always available. The child with the secure base can explore more boldly. The child without the secure base, the child whose attachment figure is unavailable, inconsistent, or frightening, cannot explore freely because the return to safety is not guaranteed. The attachment anxiety consumes the energy that the exploration requires. The uncertain return closes down the going out. This is the sheepfold psychology. The sheep that comes in and goes out and finds pasture is the securely attached sheep. The sheep whose return to the fold is always available, whose shepherd is reliably present at the gate, whose safety is not contingent on the circumstances of the pasture remaining favorable. The gate that is always open and the shepherd who is always across the opening is the secure base that makes the full movement, the coming in and the going out, possible. The practical application, the person who is living the contracted life, who is not going out because the return feels uncertain, who is not exploring because the safe base feels unavailable, is the person for whom the gate image is most directly relevant. The gate is open. The shepherd is across the opening. The return is always possible. The attachment security that the sheepfold provides is the security that makes the full life available. Receive it and venture. The second concept is the psychology of psychological safety and its effect on performance and flourishing. The organizational psychologist Amy Edmondson's research on psychological safety, the belief that one can take interpersonal risks without fear of punishment or humiliation, has produced consistent findings across multiple contexts. The teams and environments with the highest psychological safety produce the highest performance, the most creativity, the most genuine contribution. The person who feels safe enough to be wrong, safe enough to not know, safe enough to ask the question, this person can contribute fully in a way the person who does not feel safe cannot. The fold is the psychological safety. The pasture is the performance and the flourishing that the safety makes possible. The sheep who is safe in the fold can graze freely in the pasture because the fold is always available for the return. The person who is safe in the relationship with the shepherd, who knows the voice, who has entered through the gate, who has experienced the sozo of the one who came to give life and give it to the full, this person can live the full life that the safety makes possible. The practical application: identify the area of the life where the full contribution has been withheld because the safety has felt uncertain. The thing that has not been attempted because the return to safety felt contingent on the attempt succeeding. The gate image says, the return is not contingent on the success of the venture. The shepherd is across the opening regardless of how the pasture went. The safe return is always available. The venture can be made. The third concept is the psychology of the known voice and the stranger's voice. The research on social recognition and the voice of the attachment figure, particularly the work on the maternal voice and its effect on the infant's physiological response, shows that the known voice produces a specific, measurable physiological response distinct from the response to the unknown voice. The infant's cortisol levels drop when the maternal voice is heard. The heart rate stabilizes. The threat response quiets. The known voice is physiologically the signal of safety, the signal that the attachment figure is present and that the threat response is no longer required. This is the sheep's recognition of the shepherd's voice. The sheep will never follow a stranger. They will run from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice. The flight from the stranger is not the decision of the sheep's reason. It is the physiological response to the voice that does not carry the signal of safety. And the following of the shepherd's voice is the physiological response to the voice that does carry it. The tradition has always understood that the spiritual life is, in part, the formation of the ear, the development of the capacity to recognize the voice of the shepherd in the noise of the many voices that compete for the attention. The voice that produces the following is the voice that has been learned across the days and nights of the genuine relationship. The sheep knows the shepherd's voice because the sheep has spent time in the shepherd's presence. The practical application: the practice of the quiet, the deliberate, daily, repeated practice of the silence in which the shepherd's voice can be heard, is the formation of the ear that recognizes the voice. The person who practices the quiet learns, across the days of the practicing, to distinguish the shepherd's voice from the thief's. The voice that says, "Come in and go out and find pasture," from the voice that comes to steal and kill and destroy. The ear is trained by the returning to the quiet where the voice is audible. The sheepfold is alive in your life right now. There is a woman who has been climbing walls for 15 years. The achievement wall, the one she has been scaling across the career, the accumulation of the credentials, the performance reviews, the titles, the recognition that was supposed to produce, at some point, the experience of having arrived inside the place where the security lives, where the safety is, where the belonging is fully established and the acceptance is not provisional. She has climbed well. The walls are impressive, the titles are real, and the recognition is genuine, and the career is the career of a person who has worked hard and delivered. And she is lying awake tonight with the specific, private, completely familiar experience of the person who is in the enclosure but not in the fold, who has arrived at the place that was supposed to feel like safety and finds that the safety is not there. The wall climbing does not lead to the fold. It leads to the enclosure, the appearance of the inside without the experience of the inside that does not have the shepherd, the inside that has the credentials and the recognition and the career and the specific, persistent, completely unresolved absence of the one who makes the inside safe. The gate is not on that wall. The gate is the person. The gate is the specific, living, completely present access point through which the genuine inside becomes available, through which the sozo, the wholeness, the healing is offered to the person who enters through it. The gate does not require the credentials. The gate does not require the performance review. The gate requires only the coming through, the direct, unmediated, completely available entry of the person who approaches the gate, not with the accumulated evidence of the wall climbing, but simply as the sheep who knows the shepherd's voice. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. The gate is open, and it has never required the wall. There is a man who entered through the gate and cannot go out. He came to faith years ago. The entry was genuine. The turning toward the shepherd, the hearing of the voice, the recognition that this is the voice I know, the entering of the fold through the gate. The fold is real, and the shepherd is real, and the safety of the enclosure is genuinely present in his life, and he has been in the fold ever since. The pasture makes him anxious. The going out, the moving into the world with the full engagement that the full life requires, the taking of the risks and the making of the ventures, and the doing of the things that the shepherd's voice has been calling him toward. This is the thing he cannot quite do. The fold is safe. The pasture is uncertain. And the uncertainty of the pasture has been holding him in the enclosure, while the pasture's nourishment remains unreceived. He is not failing to be a sheep. He is failing to be the sheep that comes in and goes out and finds pasture. The full life requires the going out. The gate makes the going out safe, not by removing the uncertainty from the pasture, but by guaranteeing the return to the fold. The shepherd is across the opening. The fold is always available. The return is not contingent on the pasture going well. The venture can be made because the return is secured. And the secure return is exactly what the attachment research says makes the full exploration possible. Go out, find pasture. The shepherd is at the gate. The fold is always available. The going out is not the abandonment of the safety. It is the expression of the safety, the movement of the sheep who is safe enough to venture because the return is always possible. The gate is open in both directions, and there is a person lying awake right now who has heard the stranger's voice more clearly than the shepherd's. Not because the stranger's voice is louder, because the stranger's voice is more recent. The voices that have been speaking most insistently today, the voices of the anxiety, the comparison, the criticism, the self-doubt, the specific noise of the culture that tells the person who they should be and how far they are from it. These voices have been speaking all day. They have been in the meeting and in the commute and in the scrolling and in the kitchen, and they are present now in the dark at the end of the day. And the shepherd's voice has been available all day too. It is quieter. The stranger's voice insists. The shepherd's voice invites. The stranger's voice requires the immediate response. The shepherd's voice waits. And the person who has been attending to the stranger's voice all day, who has been responding to the urgency and the insistence and the noise of the voices that came to steal and kill and destroy, this person arrives at the night tired and disoriented and not sure which voice is which. The sheep do not recognize the stranger's voice. The recognition is the fruit of the knowing. The knowing is the fruit of the time spent in the shepherd's presence. The ear that can distinguish the shepherd's voice from the stranger's in the noise of the day is the ear that has been practicing the quiet, that has been returning in the daily and the nightly practice to the presence where the shepherd's voice is audible. Tonight is the practice. The quiet after the stranger's voices have finished speaking. The returning to the fold where the shepherd's voice is the voice in the room. I know my sheep. My sheep know me. Your name is known. The voice is recognizable. And the fold is the place you already are. The formation of the sheep who comes in and goes out and finds pasture is slow. The securely attached sheep is not born fully formed. The knowing of the shepherd's voice is not given in an instant. It is built across the days and nights of the relationship, across the repeated returning to the fold, across the accumulation of the experiences of the shepherd's presence in the good pastures and the dangerous ones. The first thing that changes is the relationship with the gate. The person who has been climbing walls, who has been seeking the safety and the belonging through the bypasses that always arrive at the enclosure rather than the fold, finds, in the returning to the gate, that the entry is different from what the wall climbing produced. The gate entry does not require the credentials. It requires only the coming. And the coming, practiced repeatedly, builds the trust in the gate that the wall climbing was always searching for in the wall. The safety is here. The shepherd is across the opening. The entering through the gate is available tonight and every night. The second thing that changes is the capacity to go out. The person who has been in the fold without going out, who has the safety of the enclosure but not the nourishment of the pasture, finds that the trust in the gate gradually releases the holding. The gate is always open. The return is always available. The shepherd is always across the opening. The venture becomes more possible as the trust becomes more real. The going out is not the abandonment of the safety, it is the expression of it. And the person who goes out and finds pasture and comes back in and goes out again is the person who is living the full life. The third thing that changes is the ear. The ear that has been practicing the quiet, returning daily to the presence where the shepherd's voice is audible, begins to recognize the voice more readily in the noise of the day. The stranger's voice becomes more identifiable as the stranger's. The urgency and the insistence and the come this way, the gate is here of the voice that enters by another route becomes recognizable as the voice it is. And the shepherd's voice, the quiet invitation, the calling by name, the come in and go out and find pasture, becomes clearer in the noise. The fourth change is the experience of the full life. The person who has entered through the gate and who practices the going out and the coming in, who is living the movement of the securely attached sheep, finds the full life becoming more available. The safety and the abundance, the rest and the nourishment, the fold and the pasture, the coming in and the going out, both directions. The full life that Jesus said he came to give, not the diminished life, not the careful life, not the life contracted around the safety that never quite risks the pasture. The full life, the abundant life, the life that comes in and goes out and finds pasture. The gate is open. The shepherd is here. The full life is on the other side of the entering. And now, let everything grow very still. The strangers' voices have finished for tonight. The insistence and the urgency and the noise of the day, all the voices that came to steal and kill and destroy the peace of this room, they can rest now. The shepherd's voice is the voice in this room tonight, and the shepherd's voice is the voice that calls the sheep by name. Your name, specifically, by name. Let the gate be approached, the entry that does not require the credentials, the performance, the accumulated evidence of the wall climbing. The gate requires only the coming through. The safety of the fold, the sozo, the wholeness, the healing, is on the other side of the gate, not on the other side of the wall. The gate is open. The shepherd is across the opening. The coming through is available tonight, in this quiet, in this lying down. The approach to the gate is the prayer that does not need to be eloquent, the turning toward the one who is the opening. Come in. You are known here. Let the pasture be anticipated, the coming in and the going out and the finding of the pasture, the full life, the abundant life, the life that Jesus came to give. The gate is not only the entry into the fold, it is the condition of the going out, the secure base from which the venture is safe, because the return is always possible. The fold you are in tonight is the fold you will go out from tomorrow. The safety of tonight is the ground of the venture of tomorrow. The gate is open in both directions, and the pasture is real. Let the shepherd's voice be the last voice, the voice that calls by name, that knows the sheep, that laid down the life, that is across the opening right now in this room, in this dark, with the specific and complete and completely unhurried presence of the one who came that the sheep may have life and have it to the full. Rest in the fold tonight. The shepherd is at the gate. The wolf is not in the room. The name has been called, and the voice that called it is the voice that knows it, completely, specifically, permanently. You are known. You are safe. The fold is here. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. They will come in and go out and find pasture. John 10:9. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. John 10:10. I know my sheep and my sheep know me. John 10:14. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. John 10:3. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. Psalm 23:1.